Hello everyone, I'm Brian Croy Dragon and welcome back to Vox Adventures. Let's see our boss. 0, that would be me. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, so wilderness. Let's go for a nature walk. What did it say for boss? Okay, 2 hours. I'm not gonna be here for that, so why bother rating? Well, certainly seems to be peaceful. That's right, got some diamonds there. Wonder how much a whole stack of diamond would go for. Yeah. Let's turn on to less. The hell was that? Did a bloody aeroplane fly on over my house? Yes, I know there aren't airplanes in Minecraft. Right, pull up reading material. Okay, I think we were on ancient artists. Ancient pyramids. The most famous pyramids are in Egypt. Oh, for goodness sake, I think I'll just open a window so you can read along with me. What the hell is it? No, there it is. The most famous pyramids are in Egypt, but ancient peoples also built pyramids in the desert sands of other Middle Eastern kingdoms and in the jungles of Southeast Asia and Central America. The Sumerians of Mesopotamia constructed this pyramid-like structure in their city of Uruk, called a ziggurat. It had several enormous steps, or terraces, but unlike the Egyptian pyramids, the ziggurat was not a tomb. It had a temple at the top, written in stone. In a Central American jungle stands a huge step pyramid more than 1,000 years old. The Mayas made the 9 steps out of earth and then covered them with an outer shell of stone. The temple on top is like a huge book. It is covered with glyphs that tell the stories of the Mayan kings. Okay, let's see. Oh good, we can get back on. Remove window capture, and we're back. But it's still some light out. Jeez. Back to window capture. Some of the most magnificent... Oh, jeez, I should read the title. Shouldn't I? Places of worship. Some of the most... Hold that thought. Some of the most magnificent art from the ancient world wasn't made for people to enjoy. It was created to honor the gods. Now in ruins, great temples such as the complex at Karnak in Egypt, or the Temple of Artemis in Asia Minor, were once decorated with bright paintings, precious gold, and intricate carvings. The awesome art was meant to inspire the people and remind them of the god's power and majesty. Sacred but simple. Not everyone worshipped at the great temples. The Minoans of Crete held some of their religious ceremonies in caves or on hillsides. In Rome, some of the most important rites took place at the small altars that everyone kept in their homes. Oh, good. Remove window capture, yes. And let's be on our way. Now, yesterday when I was on here, I actually encountered a husk outside of the desert. So, let's hope I don't run into another, because those buggers, don't fall under the truce that vampires have with monsters. Blood. Well, that's, quite the power the axe has. What on earth? It's not wool or snow. Not gonna waste bat form trying to get up there. To get up there, however, a bit of mountain climbing will do you good. And look at it this way, you're not in danger of breaking your neck. Must have been snow hanging from that tree, but what was it doing all the way down there? Hmm. It's awfully quiet. Granted, I don't imagine to be running into a witch. Or the odd husk like I did yesterday. What was that? Paying them no mind. Let's go this way. Actually, let's see how much this would go for. If it doesn't go for anything, I'll try again later. When there's more people on. Looks like someone lives up there. Sorry, but I need the blood. Oh, that's always good. I suppose it would have been a lot busier, the auction, if there was more people on, but still I managed to make some money. How was that? Something was coming from downstairs. Hold that thought, gotta go investigate. nothing, just Alex playing with his dry food. Let's see if there's any dungeons being done. Right, pulling something up to read. Painting people. If you link the art of ancient people to strange, just visit an art museum today. You'll see people in modern paintings and sculptures that look like beings from another world. Like modern painters and sculptors, ancient artists didn't always choose to portray people realistically. In Egypt, for example, artists adopt a highly stylized kind of painting and sculpture that lasted thousands of years. And then, of course, you'd hit play and you'd seen the video, but of course, I can't do that because it wouldn't work. Right, next one, since the sun's still high in the sky. Spectacular sculpture. People in ancient time didn't have cameras, so they preserved the memory of their leaders in wood, metal, and stone. Sometimes artists showed kings as the kings wanted to look, young, strong, and handsome. But the Egyptian artist who made the statue of Thutmose III didn't try to disguise the pharaoh's big nose. The Greeks brought even more realism to their sculpture. When it was new, this statue of a dying soldier was brightly painted, perhaps to show blood flowing from his wounds. Living on in stone, the Romans admired everything about Greek art, especially its realism. The statue of the Roman leader Julius Caesar is so lifelike that you almost expect it to speak. Oh, look, still daytime. Well, of course you can't see that with the window taking up, but it is. Weapon. Oh, what am I doing? Window captured. There, now you can see. Weapons as art. Fine weapons said a lot about the man who carried them. A brightly crafted sword, a shiny helmet, or a gleaming shield showed off a man's wealth, status, and power. Even in death, ancient warriors were never without their weapons. Archaeologists found this golden helmet and dagger at the site of the ancient Sumerian city of Ur. The helmet shows the contours of a man's head, including his ears, and long hair rolled into a bun at the back. Celtic helmet. The Romans thought the Celts were uncivilized, but ancient Celtic weapons prove that they were skilled metal workers. In fact, the Celts were the first people in Europe to make iron tools and weapons. Still daytime. Whoops. Hold on. Arts and crafts. It may seem like everything in the ancient world was made of gold, bronze, or clay. That's because most objects made of wood or cloth rotted away long ago. But whatever they were made of, many beautiful things also had a practical function. Brightly painted clay cones created beautiful mosaics on Sumerian buildings. But they also repelled water. In Greece, even elaborately painted pottery was used every day to carry water or store food. Celtic jewelry. These beads, pins, rings, and necklaces didn't come from a wealthy family in Rome. They once belonged to the barbaric Celts, who created some of the most beautiful jewelry ever made. Cosmetic spoon. Can you guess how the ancient Egyptians used this beautiful object? The rings of the bird opened to show a hollow bowl in which a woman could mix cosmetics. For God's sake. Okay, we're done with the art. And now we're going on to Babylon. The Babylonians. Have you heard that a black cat brings bad luck? Or that the stars can't predict your future? These are ancient beliefs from Babylonia, a civilization that flourished in Mesopotamia about 4,000 years ago. Babylon, the most important city in the region, was surrounded by huge walls. Its magnificent blue Ishtar Gate glittered in the desert sun. It was home to marvels like the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, one of the 7 wonders of the world, and to King Hammurabi, who issued one of the first legal codes. Oh, finally. We'll move window capture, and let's go. See platform. Let me get my, well, so much for that. Never forget the sheep. I'm sure I'm gonna come across something else eventually. Yeah. There's a cow, but I'm not gonna go looking for it. Just enjoying the beauty of nature. It's a bridge all the way over there. What was that? Well, I need blood. There we go. Okay, now where is that blasted bridge? I call this a bridge? Well, it is technically a bridge. And I can't go any farther. I wonder. Aha. Alright, you sneak, what have we got here? This kind of reminds me of those sounds in Game of Thrones. Speaking of sounds, I wonder what this is. I wonder if that's a work in progress. Probably is. I mean, when that is finished, whoever is working on it will probably have a ladder going up from the surface. I don't exactly call that shelter. Is there a roof? No, there's no roof. Raise the roof. Yeah, forget it. Now here's shelter. But I still have some time before I need to start worrying about that, and besides, I think I might be heading into build-heavy territory. Granted, water makes pretty good protection from the sun as well. And speaking of water, look at what we have on it. Time to race the sun. Or just stay. Yeah, I'll be taking this. Well, that was less of a travel across an ocean than I was expecting. Just right under here. Window capture. Okay. Back to reading. The Great Lawgiver. Scholars once believed that the law set down in the first books of the Bible was the oldest legal code in the world. Then archaeologists discovered a stone stele more than 3,500 years old. 500 years older than the time of Moses. It is inscribed with over 300 legal decisions issued by Hammurabi, a great Babylonian king. He ordered that his code be carved in stone and put in a public place where everyone could see it. Justice for all. Hammurabi's code even applied to animals. For example, if an animal died while under the care of a veterinarian, the vet had to pay the owner 1/4 of the animal's value. Actually, hold on. What am I doing? Let's go back a bit so I can actually see the sky. And now let's continue. The Tower of Babel. There really was a Tower of Babel, but experts believe that it was a ziggurat built in the magnificent city of Babylon to honor the god Marduk. The ziggurat rose about 30 stories high, in 7 enormous steps like terraces. At the top stood a temple with golden walls decorated with enameled bricks that glittered blue in the sun. The ziggurat, the gate of Ishtar, and the hanging gardens showed off the fabulous wealth of Babylon, and made it an awesome sight to travelers crossing the barren desert. The ziggurat... I'm just skipping that title. Twin Towers. The ziggurats of Mesopotamia were similar to the first pyramids built in Egypt for King Djoser, and to the Aztec and Mayan temples of Mesoamerica. Sun is still in the sky. A wonder of the world. Legend says that King Nebuchadnezzar II built the fabulous hanging gardens of Babylon for his Persian wife, who missed the green hills of her native land. The gardens were so precious to the Persians that their word paradise meant garden. No trace remains of the gardens today, and we have only a few clues that they might have existed. Watering the garden. Although the gardens, if they existed, disappeared long ago, archaeologists have found the remains of an irrigation system in Babylon. It could have carried water to a garden built on the roof of a building. Sun is still high in the sky. Two great eras. Hammurabi was the first great Babylonian king. He conquered the cities of southern Mesopotamia and built an empire that reached from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean Sea. But unlike Egypt, Babylon did not have vast deserts or high mountains to protect it. In the centuries after Hammurabi, armies swept across the broad plains around Babylon, destroying crops, burning cities, and dragging people off into slavery. Babylonia didn't regain its power until Nebuchadnezzar II became king over 1100 years after Hammurabi. The last great king. Nebuchadnezzar rebuilt the temples, palaces, and fortified walls of Babylon. This entrance to the Temple of Bel, known as the Ishtar Gate, is the only surviving example of Nebuchadnezzar's many projects. Sunstone in the sky. But still in the sky by the time we finish this section about the Babylonians. Color me surprised. The Babylonians believed that the gods communicated their... Whoops, okay, that's not right. Looking to the stars. The Babylonians believed that the gods communicated their intentions through signs and omens, a flock of birds, smoke, or an ominous eclipse. Astrologers studied every movement in the heavens and used astrolabes to make precise measurements of the locations of the stars. In fact, their work eventually led to science such as astronomy and some of the names they gave to the stars and constellations are still used today. Yeah, still high in the sky. Not really gonna be going anywhere. Taxmen. The Sumerians actually invented the first system of writing, not to record great events or tell religious stories, but to keep track of who had paid their taxes. Their writing, called cuneiform, didn't have letters. It used hundreds of pictographs. It took many years of careful study at a scribe school to learn them all. In fact, using cuneiform was so difficult that most kings never learned to read or write. Goose tax. The Egyptians also paid taxes. In this wall painting, a scribe is counting a nobleman's geese for his tax records. The Assyrian connection. The Assyrians were the most brutal conquerors of their time, taking whatever they chose and showing no mercy to those they captured. But the Assyrians did learn from the people they conquered. New customs, literature, and science. Even gods became part of Assyrian culture. But Assyrians were suspicious of new ideas, so they devoted themselves not to art and philosophy, but to inventing newer and more terrible weapons of war. The conquerors. To capture walled cities, the Assyrians invented siege engines and catapults. To frighten the people they had defeated. The Assyrians often massacred the populations of entire cities or tortured and mutilated survivors before making them slaves. Night has fallen. Now about that, we did actually. The night actually did fall by the time we finished the section on the Babylonians. It's just a regular zombie. Now let's go. Hold that thought. There we are. Now continuing on my way. By the time the aquatic update comes, we won't be looking at an empty ocean floor. And we'll have more than just squids and guardians down there. I'll take this with me. And make room in my inventory. Huh. Maybe it's not just like Hutter's place. This place isn't finished, or it was attacked by griefers. No idea how far I'll be going. Keep it, it's a donation. Oh, the snow-peaked mountains. Here on Diamond, I'm first and foremost an explorer. Well, none of us are interested in the settlement of this vast land. I'm more interested in the exploration of it. Last. Which I guess this is my... No, maybe with a little bit of shade. And shade's gone. Right, back to reading. Where are we at now? Ancient battles? Okay. Ancient battles. Across the ancient world, people spoke different languages, worshipped different gods, and ate different foods, but they all fought wars. From Thutmose III to Alexander the Great to Julius Caesar. Brilliant commanders led armies that fought on land and sea. Some battled to conquer vast empires, others to defend great civilizations, and still others fought to serve their gods. Yeah, I had a feeling the sun wouldn't be down by the time I finished reading that. Alexander. Alexander the Great ruled over the largest empire the ancient world had known, and the greatest empire ever conquered by one man. In just over a decade, Alexander captured Egypt, Persia, even part of India. His troops, well trained and equipped by his father, Philip of Macedon, often defeated much larger armies. They followed Alexander to the edges of the known world, matched long distances, and charged into enemy lines. And always Alexander was in the lead, riding tall on his famous horse Bucephalus. A genuine story. What was Alexander like? Click the button to hear him describe his most famous victories. Okay, now that's actually an audio thing. Hold on, I'll try to find it. Okay, see, but... Okay, let's see here. Oh, please let this be it. Yes, iTunes, thank you for opening.
Over and over again, my father bragged about his victories. I must have heard the story of how he destroyed the armies of Athens and Thebes 100 times. I was sure he'd leave no enemies for me to conquer. But at 20, I inherited the throne of Macedonia and my father's army. Persia, the mightiest empire in the world, threatened in the east. But I knew I could realize my dream of crushing Persia and its king Darius. First, I met the Persians at Granicus. Darius didn't even bother to show up for that battle. To him, I was just a boy. But my brilliant battle plan and my father's soldiers soon had the Persians on the run. Quickly, I captured Egypt, cut off the Persian supply routes, and then delivered the final death blows to Persia. First at Issus, then at Gaugamela, my army broke the Persian lines and sent Darius fleeing in his chariot. Who do you think looked like a frightened boy then?
Thank you, Alexander. That will be all. And Stone Sunny. Thutmose III. Much about the life of Thutmose III remains mysterious, but one thing is certain. He was a daring general. He took great risks, and often charged ahead against the advice of his generals. When he set out to take the city of Megiddo, Thutmose led his army through a narrow mountain pass, where he could have been ambushed at any time. But this risky move surprised the enemy, who fled in terror before the Egyptian chariots. A warrior pharaoh. Thutmose fought a military campaign every year for 20 years as he expanded the Egyptian empire to its largest extent. Click the button to hear his story. Oh, jeez. Get out of the pages, go back to audio. Isn't this it?
Not all the great generals of ancient times stood tall. Thutmose III, the all-powerful pharaoh of Egypt, was one of the shortest commanders in history, but in 20 years of battle, he made Egypt into an empire.
I don't think that's it.
The Persian king Xerxes had decided to destroy...
No, maybe that was it. The Greek Navy. Many of the most famous battles in the ancient world were won or lost at sea. For hundreds of years, many countries fought and won battles at sea by using warships, based on a Greek design. And of course, that would be a video, but of course, I don't know. QuickTime won't play it. A soldier's story. It may seem that all armies in the ancient world were equipped with spears, swords, and shields, but the soldiers who used those basic weapons were different in many ways. Like many soldiers in ancient times, Greek hoplites supplied their own weapons. Most were farmers or artisans who served only when a king or general called them to battle. Roman legionnaires were the world's first professional soldiers. They had standard weapons. They served for many years and were paid regular wages. Retired soldiers often received a plot of land to farm. Traveling light. Egyptian soldiers fought for the pharaoh. Most used battle axes, knives, and spears. Some had shields or bows and arrows, but in the hot desert climate they wore no armor and depended on speed and agility to beat their enemies. Still a bit early. Weapons of war. If an enemy army took refuge behind the walls of a fortified city, attackers could either give up or lay siege. At first, an army just surrounded a city and cut off its supplies, hoping to starve the people inside. But the Assyrians weren't so patient. They invented the battering ram to bash down walls. If that didn't work, they used siege engines to get troops over enemy walls. Philip of Macedon and his son Alexander the Great used catapults, the first artillery, to attack fortified cities. Sneak attack. Legend says that the Greeks used a trick to breach the defenses of Troy. They left a wooden horse outside the city walls. Thinking it was a tribute from the defeated Greek army, the Trojans brought the horse into their city. But that night, Greek warriors hiding inside sneaked out and captured Troy. And now that night has fallen, the journey can continue. The joy of adventure is its own reward. Explorer, adventurer, whatever you want to call me. This is Husk territory, better be prepared. And they aren't under the truce the vampires have with monsters, so... Best be careful. Plenty of sand, but not a husk. Still on cooldown. That's fine, I can swim. Better keep an eye out for squid. That's not a squid. That is not a squid at all. Not seeing any guardians flying about. Flying or swimming. Granted, underwater they might as well be flying. Dare I risk it? Thought I saw something. There's one. Oh jeez, and there's one as often another. Okay, they're out and in force. Better get out of here. Oh, jeez. I never managed to take care of them all. I think I can take care of husks. I can take care of witches. I probably could take a few of them. But never all of the guardians. And that is all for today. I'm Brian Croydragon signing out. Stay Shrey!